Okay, so today we're going to be looking at graph transformations. So the idea is, let me just get this open and working. If we have a graph, what we're going to be able to do with it is transform it in different ways. So if we have a function, so you'll see a graph may be called fx. It's just a fancy way of saying y, because fx is just the graph is a function of x. So you've got y equals mx plus c, the same way. So all it means is you've got y equals fx. And what we're going to be doing is looking at different ways this coordinate over here is going to change and what's going to happen to it. Now, the general rule is inside the bracket affects the x's. X's are like ex-friends or ex-partners or boyfriends or girlfriends. They're annoying. They do the wrong thing and we want to leave them in their bracket. We don't want to let them out. So if it says plus 5, it really means minus 5. If it says 2x inside, it really means a half x. So it's always doing the opposite. So let me give you some examples. So let's say we have fx plus 3. We go to ourselves, okay, it's inside the bracket. It's changing the x coordinate and it's not plusing 3, it's doing the opposite because the x's are annoying. So it's minusing 3. So we've got 5 minus 3 to give us 2. The y coordinate hasn't changed. So the graph, that coordinate will now be 2, 1. So the whole graph will have shifted this way. So maybe it looks something like that. And that over here is 2, 1. Right, so now the difference is if it's outside the bracket, it affects the y's. And the y's do exactly what we want them to do. So if it's plus 3, it means the whole graph is shifting up by 3. So outside the bracket affects the y coordinate. So if we think about this, it means the 5 stays the same because it's the x. The y does exactly what we expect it to. 1 plus 3 is 4. So the whole graph has shifted up by 4. And that point there is now 5, 4. Now let's think about if we've got something inside the bracket. So now let's say inside the bracket, we've got 3x. So we know the y coordinate hasn't changed. So the y coordinate is still a 1. But 3x means 3 times x, but it's the x's which are doing silly things. So in fact, instead of timesing by 3, we're going to divide by 3. And the whole graph sort of squishes up. If the 3 was outside the bracket, it affects the y. So straight away, we write the x coordinate down because it hasn't changed. And then the y is being multiplied by 3 because it does exactly what we want it to. So we end up with 5, 3. So what you could get, and what's come up in the new GCSEs, is where they combine some of these transformations. So let's think of, say we have 6f x minus 2. So we go, okay, think about it in terms of coordinates. It's always easier. Inside the bracket is affecting the x coordinate. Outside the bracket is affecting the y coordinate. So let's think what's going to happen to the x. It says minus 2. X's are annoying. They do the wrong thing. So in fact, it's going to be plus 2. So that 5 is going to become 7. The 1 outside is the y coordinate. It's got 6 times by 6 gives us 6. And so if we were to sort of sketch that, that's 7, 6, and the rest of the graph sort of follows. I mean, it's just a sketch. It won't look like that. The only time there isn't sort of an opposite is when you have a negative sign. So if I was to have f of minus x, there really isn't really an opposite to a minus. So in this case, the x, it affects the x because it's inside the bracket. The y stays the same. And what's happened, it's reflected and it's gone this side of the graph. And the other it would reflect in the x-axis if it was outside the bracket. So that's a very, very quick 10 minutes graph transformation. These should be easy marks, and you literally think about it. and you go, okay, is it inside or is it outside the bracket? The way that this is extended is sometimes the first step in the question is to complete the square. So you might have completed the square and you've ended up with, I don't know, x plus 2 squared plus 6. And the question might say, how has this transformed the graph x squared? Exactly the same concept. Think, okay, what's happened? Inside the bracket, it's got a plus 2. So that means it hasn't really gone plus 2, it's really gone minus 2. So here we've got a translation. The whole graph has shifted minus 2, and then it's shifted up 6. Okay, I hope that's useful. I have promised myself for the next 100 days, I will do at least a 10-minute maths tutorial with the view of completing the GCSE syllabus as far as possible. Fridays will remain past paper days, and I will make sure I go through some of the A-level and the science stuff. So please subscribe and annoy me. Let me know what you'd like and any particular topics that I should definitely cover. So I hope that was useful, and